Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Battlefield 6 already during this open beta weekend number 2, we've actually seen some new updates, some new changes go live, and we've also got a ton of details on some pretty major updates and major changes that'll be coming to Battlefield 6 for launch as well that the devs have gone through and detailed so far. So today we got a lot of things to break down, starting first with some new information on the TTK/ TTD, or time to kill and time to death, because in this game this has been a very hot topic so far throughout the beta weekends. People saying that the TTK is a little fast, or I think more accurately what a lot of people mean to say is that I'm dying super quick over here. The time to death does seem very fast, whereas a lot of guns, the time to kill really just depends on your accuracy, which I think is a good thing. But Florian here, who is one of the principal game designers at Battlefield and DICE, says if you have some video examples of suspected super bullets where you get like one shot, it feels like, by a gun that does not one shot, or you get shot around a corner or something, or unexpectedly fast time to deaths that you've recorded in the open beta, send them my way. So this is something they are actively looking into, trying to see, okay, why did this happen in this situation, get some video examples of it that they can compare and contrast. But we also have even more details into what's going on here and what they might be doing to fix it. So David Serland, one of the lead producers on Battlefield here, got asked, saying, not sure if you saw my post about the time to death, but trying to get it to the devs to see it. Apparently I'm showing up in spam, so I wanted to make sure it was seen. And David says probably time to death or net code issues on the receiving end is very much so in the priority list and is an expected part of a massive beta like this. So they are fully aware that they do have to do some work with the net code, the time to death, to update it to make it feel better in general. He gets responded to saying basically what I said was that a lot of people are saying the TTK is too fast. I have roughly 30 to 40 hours now, and I noticed that the TTK is fine. It's just that the time to death makes it seem like you die immediately. And David responds and says, we are seeing similar things. TTK up close is maybe a tad too fast in the most extremes, and time to death has some issues, probably netcode related, and how lenient we are on the client side and for how long. And there's also some bugs and glitches here and there, of course, as well. But for those of you concerned with how fast you are dying in certain situations, when you are dying what feels like feet around corners and it just seems like something was off in the gunfights, they are fully aware of this, and this is going to be something they are actively looking into. So hopefully come launch in October, these same situations will not be popping up nearly as frequently here. So certainly some good news there. Now, some more pretty important changes and updates coming to Battlefield 6. David gets asked, are there any discussions going on behind the scenes to revert the helicopter mechanics and controls to Battlefield 4? That was peak. David said there's no revert, but there is a large pass on helicopter flight in progress and coming after the beta for testing. So this is an update that they're actually going to do for Battlefield Labs once the beta is concluded. So for those of you who are trying to pilot the helicopter and ultimately to send it right into the hill 2 feet from where you took off from, good news, it might not be like that at launch. I'm not going to confirm or deny my ability to fly the helicopters or any airborne vehicle in this game for that matter. We'll leave that for a different day. He does get asked to expand, saying what is meant by a large pass, and David says this is going to be a large tuning pass, as in we've looked at many different parts of the flight model, taken a pass to move it based on feedback and our own goals from where we were at in the beta. So the current flight system for the helicopter in specific here is going to be completely reworked and overhauled in a sense for a launch. So if you become a fantastic pilot already in the beta, I have to imagine you're probably going to be able to adapt just fine at launch, but it's not going to be a one-to-one thing seemingly. And of course, if you're in Battlefield Labs, you can kind of get some testing going on as well before full launch of the game. But for those who were not super thrilled with the helicopter controls, that is something being updated as well. And by the way, as we are going through all the different various updates and changes here today, if you guys enjoy the video, you find the information helpful, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. I cannot thank you guys enough for all the support on the Battlefield 6 content so far. And of course, if you're new to the channel, you want to stay up to date with everything going on in Battlefield, this is the place to be. So feel free to hit that sub button, turn on those post notifications, and help get us one step closer to reaching 1 million subscribers. Next up here, we actually have a direct response to skill-based matchmaking. The devs have already detailed a little bit about what goes into their overall matchmaking experience, how some of it is ping, some of it's data center proximity to you. There is some skill involved, but it's not a main priority. Again, David Serland gets asked, could you specify if any sort of skill-based matchmaking kicks in between server matchups? I don't really get why a server goes down between games. Otherwise, we lose our squad, our team, the enemy team, we might retag on exactly the same map. So David says, clarification, open beta used all different matchmaking priorities we expect for launch, and they are the same as what they've been in previous titles. We prioritize ping first and foremost, then time to game ahead of most things. Skill is a factor, but pretty far down the list. So for those of you worried about skill-based matchmaking just going overload here, you know, going into overdrive, not going to be the case. And the same matchmaking that we have now is what they're saying is going to be there at launch as well. That's sometimes a thing where it's like, okay, especially with Call of Duty, for instance, when they do their betas, it's like, hey, skill-based matchmaking didn't seem too insane for this open beta weekend. And then you get to the launch of the game where you're like, oh yeah, no, skill-based matchmaking is still insane. They were probably just doing that to make the beta feel a little bit more appealing to some players, right? David goes on to say the sandbox needs many different types of skill to function as well. And that's why the matchmaker team balances to make the teams even as a part of that process. So basically saying that skill in the quote skill-based matchmaking system is not going to be a huge factor when it comes to general matchmaking. Some more good news here. A rebalance and an update is coming to the ADS, sway, and bobble systems here. Basically, there are situations where you could be walking over some slight lips or edges in game and your reticle is bouncing all over the place. Like very, very minor movement in your elevation. Like it could literally just be a curb, but your reticle is bouncing all over because it thinks you're doing like some crazy movement, right? It's trying to penalize your aim for that. To this, Florian ends up saying this is a bug and we are fixing it. The wobble is supposed to play from much bigger fall heights, much higher fall heights than that, but any small drops right now end up triggering it, which is super frustrating. So if you've been playing, you notice that sometimes if you just simply jump or if you fall off a very, very small object onto the ground, your reticle is going to be going and bouncing a large amount there and probably messing up your accuracy a ton. It's not going to be like that in the full game for launch. It will just take effect more on a larger fall heights or higher up fall heights there. So again, even more good news. This is particularly nice to hear as well. This is actually something I mentioned in my original and initial beta review. I will have a more in-depth one coming later this weekend, as well as like a final review, if you will, so stay tuned for that. But Charlie Intel reports saying Battlefield 6 devs told us in an interview that they are actively listening to feedback on the game's UI. It's not a hard-coded UI, so it's very dynamic. We can always tune those things. The titles that you see there are constantly going to be tweaked and refined. So for those of you who are not giant fans of the overall UI here on the main menu, where it's much more horizontal, there's some rather obnoxious things going into the settings, requires you to go through and click a million different buttons. It's like you're entering a GTA cheat code sometimes, up, down, A, B, just to get into like your controller settings. Sometimes they are going to be refining the UI a little bit more as time goes on. So nice to see there. Another report that Charlie Intel has via this interview, they say Battlefield 6 devs tell us in an interview that they have seen the feedback on map sizes in the beta, saying that there will be larger maps at launch. We've got a lot of variety in this package, from modes, maps, locations, size, different types of play styles. So this has been a very hot talking point with the beta so far, is that a lot of these maps feel kind of COD coded, is a comment that I've seen a lot, where they're much more action packed. They are much more condensed. It seems like there's not any large classic Battlefield maps where there is a ton of room to explore, a ton of room to navigate. Even on some of the main conquest and breakthrough maps here, we're not just talking domination and King of the Hill, right? But this is a direct confirmation that some maps at launch will in fact be much larger, and so for those looking for those massive play spaces, you're going to have your selection there for sure. I have to imagine this was definitely planned with the beta. The smaller and more condensed some of these maps are, the more engagements, the more feedback they're getting with that. So I know some people are not super thrilled with the maps feeling a little bit too small for a Battlefield title. That is not going to be something that also fully carries into every single map at launch. Now, it's not just future updates and changes that we've got to talk about today, because we actually have some new updates and changes already live in the beta as of right now. So Battlefield Bulletin reports here saying, following the community's feedback, the closed weapon all-out warfare playlist has been moved to the front page. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk going on about closed weapon versus open weapon. Should it just be closed weapon? Are they pushing too much open weapon? And this playlist was actually pushed all the way to the right when this first open beta update went live, hiding it behind custom search. A lot of players felt like that was them kind of like saying, yeah, closed weapons there, but let's be honest, we don't want you playing that. So they have brought it out to like the main featured tab now, so you can queue into that and it'll have a little bit more of a spotlight on it. And then lastly here, the Battlefield Communications account posted this morning saying there are some new balance changes to Breakthrough and Rush now live. We've just made some balancing changes. In Breakthrough, it now takes fewer players on an objective to speed up the capture. Also, defender respawn timers in both Breakthrough and Rush are now fixed at 12 seconds instead of the previous 6 to 12 second range. Try them out and let us know what you think. So a couple of gameplay changes now live and actually active for you to test, and we can get more feedback on that basically. So a lot of pretty exciting stuff here. Definitely some very important changes for launch and updates for launch already being detailed, and interesting to see some things already being changed around here in the beta. I'd have to imagine maybe even later this weekend we continue to see a few other things updated and changed around as well. But that's gonna wrap things up for this one. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like on it, and of course if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee you're always up to date with all the main things going on here in Battlefield, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.